Hey, it's Alex Muravski, the host of In Pursuit of Purpose. And today, my guest is Dr. Jeffrey Magee. He has over 30 years of keynote speaking, has done over 5,000 paid speeches, has over 500,000 copies of his book sold, and has impacted and engaged over 1 million lives. Dr. Magee, thank you so much for joining In Pursuit of Purpose today.
Thank you so much, Alex. Appreciate your time. Appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you. Well, my introduction of you only cracked the surface of all you have accomplished and achieved throughout your career. So, to start, can you just give us a brief rundown of your journey, your career, and the work that you're doing right now?
Absolutely. And it's a great opportunity and privilege to be here to share with your listeners. But let me answer that by asking you a question. Repeat, what's the purpose of this podcast?
The purpose of this podcast is to help lost people find, discover, unlock, and live out their purpose.
I love it. That was a setup for the listener's viewpoint. I wanted Alex just to say that one more time. Because that is important in answering your question of a little bit about me. Very few people, Alex, I have ever met, and I would challenge you and your listeners will ever meet, are where they are today because of some grand design they created when they were, at age 20. We are where we are because of the total experiences and people we have met along our journey. Now, there are some people that definitely may stay within an industry or a specialty within their knowledge base throughout their career, but people ebb and flow. So I grew up to be a journalist. That was my passion. As you're recording it today from the School of Communications, and throughout that first couple of years, I very quickly got into a position where I realized journalism is not what I wanted it to be for me, my purpose. For me, it was about positive optimism, success. I wanted to interview people that had accomplished something meaningful in their life that others look at and say, wow, I like where they are. I like what they've done. Again, what could I learn from them? And I was continuously told by my TV, my radio, my print, media bosses, okay, that's great, Jeffrey, but if it bleeds, it leads is the metaphor, and good news doesn't sell. So work on that on your own time. And that kind of discouraged me. So I left it, went into business. Again, that was not what my purpose and journey was in life at age 20. But through business and through those experiences, I ended up in selling. Again, very few people grow up saying, I want to be a sales professional when I grow up. But life kind of presents itself, whether good, bad, or indifferent opportunities, and we explore those. So now let me jump ahead several decades to where I am today. My purpose has always been wanting to make a bigger contribution than just me. So, how do I engage a person so it becomes us? How do I work with business owners and business leaders so it can become them? How can I look at an individual that can somehow be of influence and be of magnetic energy that people want to be around them? See, the word keeps coming back to the word plural, them, us. You can only do so much when it's an I or a me. And you can be very impactful as an I or a me, but it's more so about the others. And so that kind of led me to where I am today, where I've had the experience of being an employee, being a manager, being a supervisor, being a leader, being a business owner, having great successes and great failures along the way. And that's positioned me to understand again, my purpose really has never changed. All the way back to when I was in high school and college, wanting to interview those people that have accomplished great deeds. Dr. Seuss, I did the last interview of him years ago before he passed away. And so that's what ran in USA Today, which was at the time the premier newspaper of America. Today, as we're talking about this, doing a podcast, newspapers seem to be a little bit dinosaur, but they're still around and they still serve a purpose. It was, again, talking to him about how he got to where he was, his purpose. It was interviewing, great celebrities, Herschel Walker, a great pro athlete at the time. He was starting a restaurant chain in Atlanta, which was going to be healthy fast food. It was a great article. But when you think about the word healthy and you think about fast food, the two don't typically go together. So, a great question you've posed. I think most people are going to end up in a place in life not by, strategic, grand design at age 20. However, what you do, I look at life as chapters in a book. I've written a lot of books. I've been very successful and I've been very blessed. But if you think about books, books have chapters. And I kind of view every person from birth until they start to really interact with other kids on a regular basis. So whether that's kindergarten, first grade, somewhere, that's kind of chapter one of your development. So that's all on the parents. It's all on the adults around that little person to help to give them some good foundation. Chapter 2 is however long formal education lasts. So whether that's through grade 12, or if you're blessed and fortunate enough to go to a trade school or a community college, or on to your bachelor's or master's or PhD. But so chapter 2 in life is all of that school interaction, because you get to learn people. I mean, you and I have some commonalities with a little bit of Oklahoma in our back DNA. So
Tulsa,
you think about,
Oklahoma.
that's it, baby. Tulsa, what a great city. But again, so it's that growing up years that's going to be there. Now you're at one of the top premier colleges in America. So now you're interacting with other people, but it's still structured and formal. That's chapter 2. Chapter 3, I always tell people, is a short chapter because it's only a couple of years long. Whenever a person finishes that formal education, so whether you only make it to grade 12 or a couple years of college or you graduate, the first couple years after that, you really get a chance now to see who you really are. Because now, ideally, unless you're that anomaly has to live and grow back home because you have no real growth, you really didn't set your foundation and you're going to go hide back in the basement. So that first couple of years after college, let's say, that's chapter 3 where you really get to see who you are and how you're going to stand. So if you set those first 3 chapters up right, whatever you decide to start writing as your chapter 4 in life will always be phenomenal. And then you can always go to a chapter 5 and a chapter 6 and a chapter 7. So I don't know if I answered the question as you were expecting, but that would be my answer as to kind of where I am and how I look at life and purpose.
Yeah, well, you didn't answer as I expected, but you exceeded the expectations. I love that answer. And
Thank you,
the thing,
Alex.
the thing that I love the most is how you stated that your purpose has always been the same, but the path you were on, or maybe the way you lived out that purpose, looked differently throughout each chapter of your life. And that
Absolutely
leads
correct.
perfectly into today's topic, which is the trajectory code, or the your trajectory course. Yes,
Exactly.
the book that you gave me a copy of, a wonderful book. Thank you so much for that, by the way.
And thank you for asking, which again, there's a difference between someone who sees and those who take action. So even at that, when I was doing a book signing, standing next to my friend John Gordon there at High Point, he's signing his book, I'm signing mine. And you walk up and say, "Can I have one of those as well?" Because you were my host for the day, which was remarkable. Absolutely. So the Trajectory Code book is, at the time we're doing this recording, I've written 32 books. I have book number 33 with my editors right now, so it'll be out hopefully by the end of this year.
Very exciting.
But all of my books have been business, professional, whether they are textbooks. I've been very fortunate to write several graduate management textbooks over the years, or they're traditional trade books that you would buy on Amazon or your local bookstore. In that, I have written only one personal success book, and that is this one, Trajectory Code. And so the story behind it, I think, would be very enlightening to our listeners today and our viewers. So again, it gives you pause to recognize wherever you are, that's where you are.
Hmm.
And a lot of times people don't recognize wherever you are, that's where you are. And therefore, what are the opportunities right where you are right now? The people standing beside you, behind you, in front of you, or who's seated behind you, in front of you, beside you, or as you take 2 more steps, who you're going to engage. See, a lot of people are not where they are when they're there. Their brain is focused somewhere else. Their body may be here, but they're focused somewhere else. You're walking across an incredibly beautiful campus. Are you present where you are, or is your body moving, but your brain is 4 buildings away? Your brain is on something an hour from now. Therefore, you're missing the present. So I'm working with one of my financial clients in Mahomet, Illinois, of all places, Farm Credit, Illinois. Farm Credit of Illinois is one of America's farm credit banks. There's an agribank system in America that most people don't even know exists. And I flew there one day a month for many years working with their executive team. And the way the day would go is we would meet. I would have the senior leaders, mid-level leaders, emerging leaders for an entire day and a half to myself, going to my leadership institute. And we'd always have lunch together. And at lunch, we're having a conversation, and one of the senior executives starts sharing with me a story about a model that I use in leadership and in my coaching conversations called Trajectory Code. It's a V diagram. But in that V diagram, we establish a lot of language around it. You know, again, A is where you start. You have one trajectory line that goes to the right, AC, which deals with success, as you've read the book. And you've got a trajectory line that goes to the left, which is AB, which deals with failure and derailment. If you're on an AB trajectory, it's also a finite line. If you're on an AC trajectory, it's an infinite line. So see, we create language. So she says, we use this model and it has been amazingly impactful in what we do as a business. But I have two teenage boys and one of them was going off on the wrong trajectory. See, now she's using my language, which saves hours of conversation. So I sat down with my husband. I explained the model to him that we use in business. He liked it. We sat down with our teenage boys. We shared it with them. Point C represents goal or objective or dream or whatever you're trying to accomplish. It also could represent your values. So as a family, we wrote down our family values for letter C on this piece of paper. With a magnet, we put it on the refrigerator, and we started realizing that wherever we were in the house, when we were starting to have a conversation that we knew could go in the wrong trajectory, to minimize or remove emotions from that conversation, we would just point towards the kitchen where we were in a house. And all two, three, four of us would know exactly what that meant because that's where the trajectory code model was. We agreed upon this as our family values that guide what we do and don't do. And she said it just instantly changed our conversation. She's starting to get a little bit emotional now, which is why as a performance psychologist, I didn't like to do personal therapy. I'm not good with emotions. I'd rather have a whole group. It's less threatening. So she said, wow. But the big wow, Dr. Magee, was there would be times we're having a conversation with our kids and our kids would point towards the kitchen. We realized we were out of alignment with what we were saying. She said, you saved our family, brought us back together. So Trajectory Code as a book is short. There's 13 basic core chapters, total of 15 chapters in the book. And what's in it are basically four major life models you can actually use the rest of your life in any situation to kind of graph and chart and plot if you, they, whoever they are on track or not. And there's some other models in there that help people to understand, what influences you and what influences your psychology and what influences your internal self-dialogue. And sometimes you may be your own biggest detriment and enemy. And how do you identify what's causing that language set in your head? And how do you remove it, eliminate it? How do you replace it with positive, constructive voices? So a lot of great models in there. I tell people when they buy the book, if you read just the first 5 chapters and put it down, at that point, you will be a massively different person the rest of your life if you understand just the first 5 chapters.
The thing that I really love about the trajectory code, specifically that V diagram you were talking about with the AC and the AB line, is it's very similar to what I've been taught and what I try to teach through this podcast. And that is that everybody starts life on what my mentor and what I call the pathway to purpose. It's this golden road full of happiness and infinite opportunities ahead of you. And then you hit a tree. And a tree represents one of two things. Either you messed up or somebody hurt you. And that causes you to retreat off the path and into the bushes. And the reason I bring that up is because I was thinking that the pathway to purpose is a lot like the AC routes in your trajectory code.
Absolutely correct. I'm loving your metaphor.
And the bushes represent point B very, very well. And today I want to get your thoughts on why people go to point B and how we can get back on AC. So to start, why do people get off course and go to point B or the bushes?
Great question. So during COVID, I lived in Las Vegas, Nevada, where I lived for over a decade. Nice little penthouse suite on the strip. And you would see the whole world come there and spend money. And part of it is, it's an adult amusement park. So some came there knowing they're going to spend X amount of money, have a good time. Whether they make more or they lose it, that's okay. It's budgeted. Others would come there in desperation, thinking, I have to win. So part of why we end up on these A-B trajectories or in the bushes is we set ourselves up sometimes for unrealistic outcomes, unrealistic realities. You take that. We'll come back to that one. So let's put that in a stack. Second reason that sometimes people may, revert to the A-B trajectory and back into the bushes is that we live in a life where in reality, we're all going to get knocked down. That's the freaking reality. I mean, if you wake up and get out of your bed, you're going to have situations. And the refrigerator works or doesn't work. You grab your, orange juice out of the refrigerator and it's spoiled or it's not. You go to open up the door and it works or doesn't work. You're going to get in your car, it's going to start or not start. You're going to drive your car and be completely aware of everything you're doing, but someone else can crash into you. You're going to, slow down to not right complete stop at a stop sign. You thought you did, but you didn't, and you're going to get pulled over by a police officer. I mean, and on and on and on. You're going to miss a call on your cell phone because it just didn't, connect in, and so it goes to voicemail. We live in a world of constant change. What I realized during COVID, I wrote a book called Changeformational. And so I'm taking the concept of change, I'm taking the concept of transformation, I smash the two together. And so again, you look at the concept. So change. We live in a world where change is our new reality. You're a little bit younger than I am. So for you, if anyone who's, let's say, under the age of 30 has a problem with change, you probably need to just check off the planet, because change is your normal reality. Change is happening all the time. For some older people, they like to live in a world where they have very limited change. They try to, construct a life where there's very little things happening around them. And that's fine. Maybe you've been able to do that. But the reality today is change. That's what I learned during COVID living in Vegas, was that the person who's able to realize, change is happening. You go to sleep and wake up, change happened while you're asleep. So the best you can ever do in a world of change is survive. So why some people retreat to the bushes is that they get overwhelmed by any one change stimulant or a series of change stimulants in any day. So we default to protective behavior. What's easiest? Okay, I'm not going to volunteer. Therefore, that reduces my, chance of risk and problems. I'm not going to share my opinion very much. That gives me, again, that'll reduce my, risks in getting into trouble. I'll just keep my head down and just, do my job. I won't really ever get, a lot of money or get promoted, but that'll be okay for me. So there's all of these competing voices. So I've started 5 stories, haven't finished one on purpose, because that's how life works. And I can finish any one of them, but let me come back and finish answering the actual question. So by the time a child is age 5, 6, or 7, there's research. I don't know the hard number anymore because it doesn't matter. But by the time you're age 5, 6, or 7, you will have heard the word no or some variation of the word no significantly more than you will ever hear the word yes. So no, don't do that, bite your tongue, you're in trouble, go to your room, stand in a corner, whatever. We live in a world full of no as a stimulus. So that's another answer, Alex, to your question, is that our psychology, our brain, our memory cells are more weighted down with negatives or questionable or pessimism than it is optimism and yes. And so for some people, it's easier just to go there because they don't want to get knocked down. They don't have the self-confidence that maybe others were raised with. Go back to my chapter metaphor. If chapter 1 has a lot more negative written in it than positive, that's why people are going to divert more to the bushes. If chapter 2, K through 12th grade, has more negatives, you didn't get selected first for the teams. You got sat in the middle of the room by a seating chart. You weren't drafted to be in charge. A teacher leaves a room, she didn't say, okay, Alex or Susan, you take over, or be in charge. I mean, after a while, enough of it can start to beat someone down where you just become, in essence, you blend in, you're a follower. So you have to break out of that. Now, there's a lot of ways to break out of it, and you haven't asked that question yet. You only asked how we end up there. We have a society that perpetuates it. Let me go back to me as a journalist. I mean, again, influencers is the big buzzword today. Again, you're not one of those, because most of the people on social media that are influencers, their entire life resume wouldn't fill up a Post-it note, but somehow, some way, they got a bazillion people following them. But, them and all their followers together can't show up and do anything because they're all brain dead. You actually have a resume of doing things. Okay, I just got a little harsh on purpose. Why do we sometimes go into bushes? Because we follow a bunch of false prophets. We follow people that have big mouths, can tell you everything, but have never done nothing, anything, zero. So you have to stop and say, wait a second then. So if I don't want to be going to those bushes, I have to go the other direction. Last answer to why people go to the bushes. It's much easier when you get knocked down to stand up and take all your energy and go do something else, as opposed to that unicorn, that entrepreneur, that whatever buzzword we use, is the same person that got knocked on their butt same time you did. Difference was you stood up and went in another direction. They stood up and looked at that wall and said, wait a second, that wall that I ran into is really not a wall. It's a speed bump. Let me figure out how to go over it. Or wait a minute, it's not even a wall. It's just like one little post. Let me just step around it. And next thing you know, they're experiencing phenomenal success. And all those people in the bushes go, well, I had an idea like that once. I want to know what would happen if I would have tried it. So if you want to stay out of the bushes, then celebrate when you're in them, because that's also a learning opportunity. How did you get there? My dad told me growing up on a farm, nothing ever happens good after the sun goes down. Isn't it interesting? More crime happens when it's not light out than when it is light out. More people get in trouble after, in essence, darkness than when the sun is out. I mean, just little wisdoms.
Yeah, and the reason I asked that question was, of course, if you are in point B, if you are in the bushes, in order to get back onto that AC trajectory course, you need to figure out how you got there. And you unknowingly hinted at my next question, which was, how do you get out? Because one of the things that I try and do with this podcast is to reach people in the bushes and give them tools that would empower them to get back on that pathway to purpose. So, in your model, how does someone go from point B back to the road to C?
I love it. Okay, I'm going to give you two answers. So listen up, listeners. First is, how do you create change? So Jeff Magee's model. I realized there's three steps to create change, whether you're really off the path and deep in the bushes and thorns, or you're just starting to wobble off pathway. Or if you're on trajectory AC, A is a starting point, C is success, and you want to attract other people to your cause. There's three steps to creating energy forces around you or to create change. Step one is awareness. Awareness may take seconds, days, weeks, months, or years, doesn't matter. The first step to change is awareness. So the awareness deals with the what's and whys. So think about, as you're listening, everyone has a cell phone. Most of us with a cell phone today, some were a couple years ago, the people that make a cell phone realized they were losing a ton of money. How do we monetize our phone more? Well, oh, wow, Alex has a phone. He's going to type some URL on his phone to go to some website. We have his eyeballs there for about 6 seconds. Let's keep him hostage and put a pop-up commercial. And in that commercial, there's always a counter in the bottom right, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Skip. Now, in those 6 seconds, if they grab Alex's attention, awareness to what they want to pitch to him, and it resonates with him, he's not going to see the counter going down 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, so he can hit skip and go to where he's trying to go to. So all of our listeners should have that same experience that I've just talked to as you're smiling. So step one is awareness. Awareness deals with two factors, WHAT and WHY. So if I want you to consider doing something that I'm wanting you to participate in, the first thing I have to convey to you is what is it I'm talking about and why I believe that's important to you. And if I hit both of those targets, your brain goes, perfect. Now let's go to the second step, 3 steps to change. Second step is engagement. Engagement is going to be all the HOWs. I'm now going to talk to you about what it is my product does. So in terms of how it works, how it solves, how it fixes, how it eliminates, how it's going to be better than anything else in your universe you have right now. And if I'm hitting that one, guess what? You haven't counted 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 because I've sucked you into my change process. So step one is awareness. Step two is engagement. And if step two is of interest to you, then you're going to want to know, okay, how do I get this? Step three then is the commitment. The commitment is the call to action. Go here, put it in your cart, buy this, call this, do, etc. So when you're in the bushes, the first thing you have to do is become aware of, how did I get here, so you know how to get out of it. So if you're listening to this and you're a farm kid, you might be a little bit smarter than all of our city folks listening right now. Because if you're a farm kid and you're driving, somewhere your parents probably taught you or you just saw happening on your farm that in the trunk of your car or in the back of your truck, you always had a bag of dirt or a bag of kitty litter or a piece of wood and a shovel. So then in the wet season, in the cold season, in the winter season, if you slide off the road a little bit, you just put that little bit of sand or dirt or kitty litter or piece of board under the tire and you slowly pull right back out of the dirt and the mud and you're right back on the road. See, that's step one of awareness. How did I get here? What do I do? If I'm in the mud, I don't just like push on the accelerator pedal more, because now I'm going to dig my tires in tall, create a hole, and I'm going to be in bigger trouble. So that's an example of awareness. So once you have the 3 steps, then you go to number 2. Number 2, okay, how do I get out of the weeds was part of your question. Well, first, how did you get there? So you can say how to back up. How did you get there? So you can say, okay, who maybe participated in leading me into the bushes? Therefore, maybe I don't want to be listening to them anymore. Let's change your frequency, change your station, change who you're interacting with so you can change your network of people. And then you'll figure out what your call to action is. So let me give you a specific way to avoid getting in the bushes. See, for years, people would ask me 2 questions. And when I was at High Point University, it's interesting, people ask me the same 2 questions. They're universal. When you have a group of people together thinking about how to be bigger than who they are right now, how to contribute bigger than what they're contributing right now, how to play bigger than how they're playing right now, they're always going to ask others. Number one, what are you reading? What should I read? Who do you read? Who should I read? And so a long time ago, I realized I'm not going to recommend any author by name. I'm going to give you 5 types of book categories you should be reading, 5 types of source information you should be consuming. And if you consume information in these 5 categories, your brain will always be growing. Benjamin Franklin had a classic line: the person who empties their purse into their head will never be bankrupt. What gets us in the bushes is when you have limited brain IQ and you don't know how to get out of the bushes. So the more you know, the more you read, you may limit how many bushes you get into, or you will very quickly know how to get out of the bushes when you're there. So I'm not going to answer that one for your listeners right now. Let me answer the other one. I also talk about people. When you were in that audience, one of the models I gifted everyone was a model called the fist factor. So I've realized people will always ask the second question: who should I model? Who should I, mentor under? Who should I follow? And I said, let me answer that one differently. What I've recognized in life, and because I love to also read and consume, there's 5 types of people that will influence you in your journey of purposefulness. And these 5 categories can be constructive, contributing people, or they can be absolutely devastating. Now, I'm not saying only 5 people in your life, but 5 types. So for your listeners, this is massive. This is like 909, the advanced class. This is like talking to a bazillion millionaires and billionaires, and eventually you get the clue. So let's just put you at the front of the line right now. So category number one, if you take your hand and make a fist, and I'm not going to do the whole exercise you and I did there at High Point University, so maybe people have to reach out to you and you can teach them this part. But if you open up your hand, you have 5 fingers. So number one, first finger, doesn't matter which one it is. Let's label that one with family. So think about right now, do you have family people in your head, whether they're still with us, alive, or they're past and passed away, but they still occupy space in your head and influence how you see yourself and what your internal dialogue is? Because that's a clue number one as to why you're in the bushes or not. If you have a lot of naysayers in your family, they're always putting you down. Oh, Alex, what do you think you're going to be? Or you can't do that. No one in our family goes there. You're just too big for your pants, et cetera, et cetera. Well, after a while, some people actually start believing those people. See, they've limited themselves. It doesn't mean you have to subscribe and limit yourself. So family members. So again, do you have family members that influence how you see yourself, your internal dialogue? And if you do, ask yourself, are they constructive, neutral, or positive? And you want more family positive influencers. That's going to get you out or keep you out of the bushes. Because when you're in the bushes, you can say, okay, Alex is my younger brother. What would he do in this situation? And now I'm going to see a whole endless amount of videotape in my head of how you would have said something or not said something, how you'd ask for help, or how you'd dig out of it, or how you'd back up, etc. Category 2 is friend. Who are your friends in your life? Hopefully you have a lot of great friends that will demonstrate in your head, videotape you see of them where they have been resilient and they've bounced back and they had a constructive attitude and a giving heart and they were purposefully doing things. Category 3 is going to be profession. So if you're a college student listening to this, that's great. What professions do you think you want to go into? That gives you a whole category and you can start putting in tons of people. So it gives you reason to meet people. If you're listening to this and you are in a profession, so again, think about profession, the most successful person you've ever met in your profession. Third is going to be the category of success. Who's the most successful person you've ever met? So these 5 categories, giving you 4: family, friend, profession, success. Those people in your head are how you get out of the bushes. Those are the people that become your GPS when you're by yourself in life. And the last one I call underdog. Who is someone you know that's been knocked into the bushes? That tree popped up whether they were ready for it or not. They bounced off the doggone tree and landed in the bushes. Well, who's had that happen that you know? And maybe it's a family member, a friend, or success, or someone you've worked with. Maybe they passed away, but they still occupy influence in your psychology. And how would they go about getting back on the pathway of success, AC, in life? So that's the answer I'd leave you with in terms of what do you do when you're there? First, you go through the change process of awareness, engagement, commitment. And then in that, you think about who the people that you could call out to, you could access, you could reference, or you could just think in your head, how would they handle the situation? What would they do if they were in my situation? And if you think through that smart enough, those people will actually serve in a nanosecond. Right before you hit that tree, they'll pop up in your head and say, lean, lean, lean. And then you'll lean and miss the whole tree and you will never end up in the bushes. I'd give you an example, but it's a little politically charged, and some people would be too stupid to hear the story because they're going to be politically ignorant. But we had a major political leader in our country recently as we're recording this. One of his kids was in a business meeting with some influencers. And those influencers created the meeting under the guise of being able to help their parent to get elected. And this son was in the meeting for about 4 or 5 minutes and quickly realized this is a group of people I never should have been in this room with. And I know the media is going to misconstrue this meeting. So I need to find a polite, professional way, don't be disrespectful, to extricate myself from this meeting, which is what he did instantly. But he was also smart enough before he walked in the room to hit record on his phone. So he was recording the entire meeting. Because remember that profession I went to first be in life, a journalist? I realized a lot of journalists are very disingenuous people.
Mm.
And so his fifth factor protected him because when someone started to misrepresent what took place, he simply hit play and turned into about a 2-minute conversation, which could have been about a year-long nightmare.
Mm.
Your fifth factor of these people will guide you in every action. So I share that story at the end, and I also show you how to use it at the beginning. But I love your tree and your bush metaphor. Stay with that one. Don't let anyone ever hijack that story from you. It's too good.
Thank you so much. And to recap that, we have awareness, we have engagement, commitment, and people. A lack of will put you in the bushes, but
Bingo.
having those things will get you out of the bushes and keep you on the AC path. I have a few
Every
rapid
time.
fire questions for you.
Okay.
As we wrap up, we have just a few minutes left. First, what is one decision that you have made in your career, in your personal life, that has changed your personal trajectory course?
To realize I own my entire life.
Hmm. Can you expand on that just a little bit?
Far too many people go to work and they think that their employer is going to take care of them,
Hmm.
or they get married and they think their spouse is going to take care of them, or they have parents that they think are always going to take care of them. My parents have been very successful. They have a lot of money. My name is Alex. I'm in college. My retirement program will be when they pass away, I inherit all their money.
Hmm.
Well, that's one plan you can have. Problem is, there's a major problem with that decision. Something happens then between now and when they pass away. Hopefully, it'll be a long time from now. They lose all their money. You're going to be in deep trouble. See, people don't count and bet on themselves. We abdicate all of our accountability, responsibility, and we think someone else is going to take care of us. Government is not here to take care of you. They're here to create an environment by which you can get off your butt and be incredibly successful. I, as a taxpayer, should not have to pay for anyone who can truly take care of themselves. I'll help to take care of anyone in society that truly can't help themselves, but otherwise, I pay too much in taxes, and so I'm a little bit loud when I get to that point. You want me to help pay for your health care? Not a problem. Here's my address. Step over this weekend and help clean up my yard.
Hmm.
You want unemployment? Not a problem. I'll show you where the nearest elementary school is. Stop by there on one of your lazy days this week while you're on your butt doing nothing and pick up trash, paint the jungle gyms, help out the teachers. See, again, we've created a society where people don't understand you own everything around you that's in your orbit.
Hmm.
And
You,
when I learned that, that was a major life lesson because
yeah.
I was working for a Fortune 500 company. I was selected as their number one salesman in the nation in Orlando at a major national conference. 2 months later, I was fired from the company. My immediate supervisor had forged my signature for 6 months on documents that he was telling me to do something and I wasn't doing it. So he made the case to terminate me. And I learned at that point, as an employee, a company could give a crap less about you if they're that big. They might care about one rock star employee. They might care about some mid-level managers, but they only care about the people at the top. And very few companies can prove that last statement wrong because I work with them every day of the week. And the ones that can't take care of their people, I choose to no longer be a part of them.
Hmm. You own your whole life. Very encouraging. Next rapid fire question. What would you say is the biggest trajectory code blocker? Something that keeps people from reaching their goals and staying on the AC route?
Two things. Sometimes I open my mouth and I should keep it shut,
Hmm.
like maybe my last answer. And the second one is not believing in yourself because you don't have a healthy fist factor.
Last rapid fire question for you. If there is one thing that you want the listener to remember about what it means and what it looks like to align your trajectory course, your trajectory code with your purpose, what would you leave them with?
Great questions. We've talked about education. We've talked about you own you. Yeah, I'm going to end with the word legacy. No matter how old you are, I'm going to end with the word legacy. That guides us on a daily basis to recognize what am I doing right now if this was my last opportunity to interact with someone? What would my legacy be? Would they see me as someone who was a giver, a supporter, an advocate of others, a mentor, a contributor at whatever level I can? That's your legacy. Or is it that you sat off in the cheap seats and just heckled in all kinds of comments, but never really contributed because that's your legacy.
Mhm.
I tell people you can say whatever you want to say, but the reality is history is very revealing because history deals with facts. When we are alive, we all can have a marketing machine spitting out rhetoric and sound bites and distracting people away from reality. But facts are facts. Facts may change, but it doesn't mean that the last fact was right, wrong, good, bad. It was still a fact. So I would leave you with the word legacy. What is your legacy? How do you want to leave has a lot to do with how you should show up.
Yeah. And then the final question I have for you is a question that I ask almost every single guest on my podcast. It's the in pursuit of purpose question.
Okay.
And that is, without saying what you do, who are you and what is your purpose?
I get up every day and look for ways to enrich others in the ways that I can so that they can achieve more, be more, win more, and leave a legacy in their own space that's greater than how they started their day.
Absolutely incredible. Dr. Magee, thank you so much for joining In Pursuit of Purpose today. We appreciate the time you took to share your wisdom and your experiences with us. And to the listener, remember that you have a purpose and that you can live it out. And if you are in the bushes, be aware, engage, commit, and surround yourself with the right people to get out and stay out of the bushes. Have a great day.